Welcome everyone, this is Michael Ramon Ricardo, and I'm going to speak on cutting the grass. This is going to seem kind of funny because it kind of goes with landscaping, but cutting the grass is a little bit different. See, sometimes in grass we have weeds, sometimes in grass we have a lot of other things going on in it, and it's like you have to really pay attention. What's going on in the grass? Is there, you know, different pot spots and all that, or is there certain areas where it's just dirt and not grass? We have to keep in mind that we're being careful whenever we're cutting the grass. What I mean is we're making sure that the landscape, that all the stuff that we have right now, that we're being mindful of what's growing. Are we having bad habits grow? Are we having good habits grow? Because bad habits are like weeds. You don't want them. So we have to cut off all of those bad habits. We have to, and when we get ourselves back into the habit again, what we got to do, we have to cut it out again. It's the same thing as mowing the grass. So we got to make sure that we are leveling the grass properly. We have to make sure that we are leveling and balancing our life the same way that we would be able to balance the grass. And when it comes to those weeds and those bad habits, we have to make sure somehow, some way, we're able to get rid of those weeds. Whatever it takes to get rid of those weeds, whether it takes a certain type of chemical or particle that we have to take, whether it takes some type of way of cutting it out, plucking it out, whatever we got to do in order for us to make sure the ground is looking nice, we have to make sure we do that. This is the same way we have to do with our life. We have to make sure that we remain in such a good playing field, or, make the plains look beautiful. We have to keep on working that ground, cutting the grass and making sure everything is leveled properly. Because if our life is not leveled properly, if things are kind of out of balance, there's going to be things that will throw us off. So we have to seek God when it comes to certain things that we have going on in our life, keeping ourselves level the same way that we would level the grass. If we let things get too high, that means that we're not keeping up with who we are. And the way that we keep up with ourselves is we got to make sure, and it's the same thing for haircuts. Are you going to have your hair just grow everywhere? Or are you going to just keep on making sure that you're groomed? When you groom the grass, the same way when you groom your hair, you have to make sure that everything is properly balanced and everything's properly, fixed up. So when we have weeds in the ground, we don't want those weeds. Those weeds are bad habits. When we have rocks, in certain spots, if you run over a rock, guess what's going to happen? It's going to mess up the machine. It's going to stop the lawnmower from cutting the proper way. The blade might get messed up. We want to make sure we look and see if there's anything that we need to get out, that we need to take out from the grass, and get rid of those things. Put them somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So it has to be that takes place. And when you have your grass, and you have your weeds, and you have your rocks, when you do the proper things to get rid of the habits or get rid of those things that don't belong in life, when you get rid of all those things and then you keep everything balanced, when things get too far up that you can't start fixing up what needs to be fixed, that's where there's a problem. That's where the lawnmower can no longer really do the job it needs to do properly. It's going to take a longer time to get rid of whatever's going on because you allow too much to keep on elevating. Cutting the grass means that you are making sure that you cut it at a proper time. That when there's certain things that are going on, you don't let it elevate too high. The grass is getting cut at the proper timing, and then you're keeping everything balanced. You're allowing life to flow the way it needs to flow. It's the same way for keeping things clean. It's the same way for keeping things up to par. We have to do that with the life. Keep a life balance, which means that meditating on the word, that has to be a constant thing, just like cutting the grass has to be a constant thing. Otherwise, the grass will grow too high up. Issues, you don't want them to grow too high up. Weeds, you don't want them to be anywhere near. Rocks, you don't want them to be the issues that are just placed into your life that you know you don't need them there. So cutting the grass is almost like landscaping, but it really isn't. Landscaping is a way where we are building fruits. Cutting the grass is where we are balancing our life properly and making sure things that come up don't go too high up, and that we keep things balanced. And that's how I look at it as metaphor. Just making sure that everybody knows this is all a metaphor, and that we can utilize the word. We can make sure that we stay looking at the word to refer back to how things really are. Because if we look at this grass right now, as Paul examining himself daily, he wants to make sure there's no weeds in his life. He wants to make sure that there's no things that don't belong in his life. The same way we have to do with our life. So I want to end with that. Again, my name is Ricardo. Know that God loves you and that I love you. We all take care and God bless.